From the moment you were born, something invisible began shaping your life. They told you what to think, how to act, even what to dream. But have you ever stopped to ask, why? It's a simple question with a heavy weight. What if everything you believe is just a construction, a grand lie to keep you comfortable in the face of a much more terrifying truth? We look at the universe around us searching for answers. But what we find is silence. The cosmos has no plan, no morality, no meaning. It's an immense void, indifferent to our existence. Deep down, we all know this. That's why we spend our lives running, desperate to fill that emptiness, with purpose, success, love. It's like a race against the void. But this race, this frantic search for meaning, was carefully planned, not by cosmic forces, but by systems that rely on our fear to survive. Fear of the void is the perfect fuel for control. After all, someone who doesn't fear the abyss will do anything to avoid it. And so, the story they told you begins. But what if the abyss isn't the enemy? What if the void is, in fact, your greatest opportunity? This is the idea we'll explore. The journey to unlearn what you've been taught, to see reality as it is, and to realize that true freedom lies where no one dares to look, in the nothingness. Now that the question has been raised, the choice is yours. Will you continue to accept the answers you've been given? Or will you dive into the truth that's always been there, waiting for you? Let's begin. From an early age, we're taught to trust reason as our greatest tool. They tell us rational thinking will set us free. But we rarely stop to ask, who decides what we should think? Schools, for instance, promise to teach us, but what they actually do is program us. They teach us to follow rules, memorize answers, and respect authority. Thinking differently? That's discouraged. Look around. Why does creativity, something so natural in children, fade as we grow older? Reason, instead of empowering us, is shaped to keep us predictable. Memorize, pass the test, move on. Don't question. This familiar logic wasn't designed to liberate you. It was designed to control you. Then there's the fear of failure. From the very beginning, we're punished for getting things wrong. Whether it's bad grades or criticism, we learn to associate failure with shame. But failure is essential for growth. The problem isn't making mistakes. It's the system that makes you fear them. Because a person who fears failure won't challenge the status quo. They conform. And so, without even realizing it, you're shaped to fit into a mold. Everything around you reinforces the idea that your only role is to fit in. School becomes work. Work becomes routine. And routine turns into an invisible prison. You think you're living, but you're only obeying. The cruelest part is how natural it all feels. After all, everyone else is doing the same. But stop and think for a moment. Why are we taught to memorize instead of question? Why are we praised for obedience but rarely for curiosity? Reason, once a tool for liberation, has been turned into a mechanism for conformity. This is just the beginning. These systems don't want you to think for yourself. They want you to go along with the flow, never asking where it's taking you. But now, you've started to see the bars of the cage. The next step is to understand what they're hiding. Science, in its pursuit of universal truths, has revealed much about the universe. But the more we discover, the more insignificant we realize we are. Did you know that, in the grand cosmic scale, humanity occupies an almost imperceptible place? We are just a speck, lost among billions of galaxies. Yet we live as if we're the center of it all. This perspective isn't easy to accept. Evolution has shown us that we're not special, just another species struggling to survive. Physics explains how the universe operates without a grand design. And consciousness, it's a paradox. A brain that observes the world but can never escape itself. Science doesn't hide the truth, but it doesn't offer comfort either. So we turn to external narratives to fill the void. Purpose, we're told, is found in religion, family, or professional success. But science invites us to think differently. What if purpose is just a human invention? A way to impose meaning on a world that, by nature, has none? Look at the cosmos. The stars don't shine to inspire you. The planets don't orbit to tell a story. The universe is indifferent. And that indifference is both terrifying and liberating. Because if there's no inherent purpose, then you're not bound by any destiny. You're free to create your own meaning. But this is something the systems around us don't want you to understand. They prefer that you believe in ready-made purposes, ones that are easy to sell and easy to follow. Science, however, gives us tools to question these narratives. Not to find all the answers, but to free ourselves from needing them. The question is, are you ready to let go of the comfort of an imposed purpose? Accepting the void is the first step to seeing reality as it truly is. And once you start seeing it, you'll realize that everything you believed about success, happiness, and meaning is just a construction. It's time to tear those constructions down. Stories have always been humanity's way of making sense of the world. From ancient myths to modern blockbusters, everything boils down to narratives. But what if these stories, instead of freeing us, are actually trapping us? The narratives we follow aren't neutral. They're constructed to control us. From a young age, we're exposed to stories that glorify obedience and vilify rebellion. Think about the heroes we admire. They sacrifice their desires for the greater good, follow the rules, and restore order. And the villains, they question, challenge, and break norms. How are they portrayed? Dangerous, chaotic, and evil. This isn't a coincidence. It's conditioning. Why are these narratives so effective? Because they offer us something we desperately crave: security. The world is chaotic, and stories bring order. They create the illusion of a right way to live. But by following these stories, we surrender our autonomy. Take the idea of success. From an early age, we're told success means accumulating wealth, climbing the corporate ladder, and achieving social status. But who defined that? It's a narrative crafted by a system that needs you to consume, conform, and compete. If everyone started questioning it, the system would collapse. Then there's the pursuit of happiness. They told us it lies in finding the right person, having the right job, or buying the right things. But happiness, like purpose, is just another story we were sold. What if you didn't need any of that to feel whole? Now that we're beginning to deconstruct these narratives, it's clear that many of them aren't ours. They were implanted by systems that benefit from our compliance. But once you see this, you can start creating your own stories. Stories that don't follow a pre-written script. This is the power of seeing beyond the illusion. Realizing you're not the hero of a tale written by others. You're the author. And to write your story, you must first embrace the void left by the ones you've chosen to abandon. Here's the truth no one wants to face. The universe has no meaning. But this isn't a sentence of despair. It's a gift. Without a preordained meaning, you are free to create your own. The nothingness we fear so much is, in reality, a boundless space for creation. Imagine a blank canvas. At first, it might feel intimidating, but it's where all art begins. The same applies to nihilism. It's not about giving up or accepting defeat. It's about rejecting imposed rules and building something new. This freedom, however, comes with a price. Responsibility. Creating your own meaning requires courage. It's far easier to accept pre-made narratives than to face the vastness of the void. But when you embrace nothingness, you realize you don't need to live by others' standards. You can live by your own. Many fear nihilism because they think it strips life of purpose. But the truth is, it only strips away false purposes. It tears down illusions and leaves you with something pure, the chance to choose for yourself. No cages, no molds. Only what you decide to create. So look into the void, into the absence of meaning, and see it for what it truly is. A blank page. Yes, it's scary, but it's also the most powerful thing you can have. Because in the end, nothingness is freedom. And freedom is everything. Accepting the void is only the beginning. Now comes the real challenge, rebuilding your consciousness. Throughout your life, your mind has been shaped by systems that taught you what to think, not how to think. But here's the good news. The mind is adaptable. Just as it was programmed, it can be reprogrammed. The first step is awareness. Start observing your thoughts and ask yourself, is this truly mine? Many of your beliefs about success, love, and happiness weren't created by you. They were implanted by systems that profit from your conformity. Recognizing this is where transformation begins. Science calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change through new experiences. Every time you challenge a belief or learn something new, you create fresh neural connections. It's like redrawing a map. And the more you practice, the more your mind adapts to a new way of seeing the world. But reprogramming your consciousness requires effort. Meditation, for instance, is a powerful tool. Not to empty your mind, but to observe your thoughts without judgment. This creates a gap between what you feel and how you react, breaking the automatic cycles that systems rely on. Self-analysis is another essential practice. Ask yourself, why do I want this? Is this desire truly mine, or was I taught to want it? This simple reflection can unravel years of conditioning. When you start identifying what's authentic and what isn't, your life begins to shift. Seek out experiences that push you out of your comfort zone. Try new things, revisit forgotten interests, and embrace failure. Mistakes are part of the process. The system taught you to fear failure. But in truth, it's essential for growth. Rebuilding consciousness isn't quick or easy. But with each layer of conditioning you peel back, something incredible happens. You begin to see yourself as you truly are. Not as the system defined you, but as who you really are. This is where freedom starts to take shape. And now that you're redefining your mind, the question arises, how will you use this newfound freedom? The next step is to embrace it and build a life aligned with what truly matters to you. Now that you've started deconstructing imposed narratives and rebuilding your consciousness, the inevitable question arises, what will you do with this freedom? The void can feel intimidating, but it's also a blank canvas, waiting for the colors you choose to paint. You can continue living on autopilot, following rules you've never questioned, or you can embrace the unknown. But that takes courage. Freedom comes with risks. It means taking full responsibility for your choices, with no one to blame and no guide to follow. The truth is, not everyone chooses freedom. Many prefer the comfortable bars of conformity. And that's okay. It's a choice too. But for those who take the leap, the universe opens in unexpected ways. Freedom doesn't guarantee answers, but it does guarantee authenticity. This doesn't mean abandoning everything or living without connections. Quite the opposite. It means building relationships, values, and dreams that truly resonate with you. Living by your own definitions, not the ones imposed by others. That is the ultimate act of rebellion. Nihilism isn't an end. It's a beginning. It doesn't tell you how to live. It reminds you that the power to decide is yours. And the real question is, will you keep following the script handed to you? Or will you write your own story? The universe has no answers to give. It's silent, vast, and empty. Yet in the middle of it all, there's you. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.